Dear colleagues, hello everyone. My name is Tomáš Marek. I am a PhD student at the Department of Education at the University of Hradec, Králové in Czech Republic. And today I'll be presenting the reasoning behind, the process of, and of course, most importantly, the outcomes and results of an analysis of graphical representation of data in elementary school mathematics textbooks. Let's start with some context, meaning why is this a topic you should pay attention to? Visual representations of data play a crucial role in our lives. Everywhere we go, whatever we do, data are in there, data are present, and we live in a world heavily based on data. To have data that actually means nothing, we need to get insights from data, and one of the tools we can use to make sense of data is data visualization, graphical representation of data. Pandemic went hand in hand with a lot of visualized data. There were many metrics like number of cases, number of vaccines administered, number of casualties, etc., etc. And all these metrics were very often communicated in graphical ways. Sadly, we shouldn't expect that the general public is easily capable of understanding these visualized data. The topic also gets traction in the light of misinformation and disinformation. Data visualization can be very easily manipulated to tinker with the reality of the data. So we stress the need for data visualization literacy. That's another new literacy that tries to reflect the rapidly changing world we live in. So this is the main context of our research, data visualization literacy. While some attention has already been paid to the research and development of instructions for building and strengthening data visualization literacy among the adult public, the topic has not yet been addressed much in primary education, and this is where the fundamentals of our data visualization skills should be built. Some scholars even believe that by the 4th grade, children should have all the knowledge and skills necessary for reading graphs. However, right now, we are not even sure how and in what forms data visualization are present in our educational materials. Although some content analysis studies already focus on graphical data representations in elementary education textbooks, there are no studies conducted in the local context of Czech educational materials. We, of course, have state standards in the Czech Republic. They do mention data visualization and the ability to interpret and create data graphics as an essential skills, but they do not provide any guidance whatsoever. So these are the primary questions. What types of graphical representations of data are present in Czech elementary mathematics textbooks? How common are they? And also, in what chronology are they presenting these types of data visualizations? To answer these questions, we conducted a content analysis of primary education mathematics textbooks. Why textbooks? Mostly because, for example, Coleman reported teachers most frequently used instructional practices while working with graphical representations were to point to those graphical representations in textbooks. We chose complete series of textbooks together with workbooks were available. Only materials validated by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports of the Czech Republic were selected and analyzed. 5 complete textbook series from 4 different publishers were also chosen based on our consultation with professional subject librarians, physical viability, and of course, local usage. You can see the names of those editions in this slide, in the table. They will probably not going to tell you much if you're not from Czech Republic, but at least you can see the number of pages and you can see the amount of books by grade. We end up with 84 textbooks and workbooks and with 5,528 pages in total. There are many graphical objects in textbooks, but not all visuals are graphical representations of data, so we had to define our object of interest. We were interested in visual displays of quantitative information, meaning any graphic that shows quantitative data and its visual variables are influenced by numerical inputs. For every object, we noted its type, page, terminology, level of visual abstraction, and their role. Role meaning if they were used in a way where children were supposed to create, to interpret, or if they were used just as an illustration when presenting the topic. During the analysis, we marked some graphics as fully developed graphs, meaning they are fully developed statistical graphics with all the components that usually constitute it. This notation enables us to further differentiate between more advanced graphical representations of data and simpler data-driven graphics that may utilize the same visual variables while serving as some kind of proto-graphs. Because there is a difference between simple data-driven bar and a fully developed bar graph, and we wanted to capture this during our analysis. Let's talk a bit more about the classification, because that was, and that's what usually is, the most challenging part of content analysis of this kind. First, a small and various exploratory sample of textbooks from selected series and grades was chosen, pre-analyzed and validated with a fellow reviewer to clarify ambiguous items. The prior classification of visual data representations was created while being informed by existing classifications used in analysis up to now. You can consult those in the full article. And while basing this classification in the leading reference guides from the domain, mainly the reference guide from Harris. Of course, priori classification is not enough for this type of analysis, so we used a combination of priori and emergent coding, and when a new type of graphical representation emerged later during the data collection, the classification was updated to encompass the varied reality of data graphics used in Czech elementary mathematics textbooks. In the end, we end up with 7 main types, including a total of 14 specific subtypes. In total, 2,760 graphical representations of data were logged during our analysis, together with their observed properties. Then we calculated the frequencies for all the types, and frequencies were then split by grades to analyze the prevalence of different types and different levels of primary education. In this table, you can see absolute frequencies of types and subtypes by grades and relative frequency by all types. Let's talk a little bit more about the types and subtypes. There are pictorial units, these present data with pictographs, which can be unstructured, meaning free form, or they can be organized in some non-random way, meaning they are structured. There was a specific type of pictorial unit, and that was abacus pictographs, which is used mainly when working with bigger numbers, thus peaking in presence in grade 3. Next, we have numbered lines, part to whole graphics, where pie charts are included, pie graphs, sorry, and then of course bar graphs and line graphs. There is a specific type and subtypes called point graphs. These are specific type of data visualization that utilize points or dots to visualize data. In this category, we classified dot plots. These are functionally similar to bar graphs, with the difference being the visual variable of position used instead of visual variable of length. And of course, scatter plots. Scatter plots are really marginally present in our sample since grade 3 peaking in grade 5, where they are mostly utilized to work with coordinates, but they were never addressed as scatter plots or as correlation diagrams in our sample. Let's look into some interesting insights from the data. Graphical representations of data are introduced in a logical sequence. That's why it's not that surprising that the most salient type in grade 1, with almost 41.5% of all data graphics in grade 1, is a free-form pictograph. Free-form pictograph is, for example, 4 apples or 5 butterflies, 5 illustrated butterflies that represents the number 5. These can be later presented with some structure, thus becoming the structured pictographs, and the amount of abstraction is growing higher and higher as the grade progresses. We also find out that the numbered lines are a common, simple way of visualizing data. They are steadily present through all the 5 grades. And when taking only fully developed graphics into consideration, the bar graph was the most common type of fully developed data graphics, which actually is in harmony with some findings presented by scholars before. Also, line graphs are gradually introduced into the textbooks. We traced the first line graph as early as grade 2, but they are most prevalent in grade 5, making almost 9.4% of all grade 5 data graphics. A huge group is a group called part-to-whole graphic. Regular part-to-whole graphics, they mostly consist of rectangular data graphics, namely fraction diagrams and other part-whole items such as area models and decimal area models, which are the most common subtypes here. They can often be seen as a preparatory stage to understand more abstract and more developed part-whole data visualization, such as Ben Schneiderman's tree maps. And of course, pie graphs are the most interesting subtype here. They were used mainly in its protoform while working with fractions. To answer our main research questions, yes, various graphical representations of data are fluently present in Czech elementary mathematics textbooks and workbooks. We found out that children in grade 5 can be already familiar with pie graphs, line graphs, bar graphs, point graphs, and in some cases, it's a marginal thing, but in some cases even specific subtypes such as histograms. Of course, judging only by the textbooks. Also, we found out that the representations are established in logical sequence from simple graphical representations as pictographs to more complex as point charts and histograms. Of course, I'm not here to downplay the work. The sole presence of a graph is essential, the sole presence of a graph in textbook. But building robust data visualization literacy is, of course, much more varied task. It's about the context, it's about the process. So next, we would like to focus more closely on fully developed graphs, fully developed graphical representations. We would like to know more about their functions in textbook exercises, what type of data they are utilizing, in what ways, what are the instructions connected with these objects. Also, we would like to broaden the analysis to textbooks in other elementary subjects and to compare between disciplines, because the math is the natural area for graphical representations of data, but we are also interested in what types of graphical representations are present in other materials from other subjects and other disciplines and areas. That was my time. Dear colleagues, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. I'll be very happy to answer any question you may have right now. And feel also free to contact me. There is an email on this slide you can use to contact me. I'll be very happy to discuss this topic further with you any time. Thank you.